In today's weekly Forex forecast, we are talking about the DXY, the euro, the pound, the dollar yen, and also gold. And this is an especially important video, guys, because we have the Forex market sitting at what could be a significant turning point in 2025. So I'll have all the details in today's video. And by the way, guys, if you do enjoy the content, be sure to subscribe to the channel and smash the like button as we run through this. All right, looking at the DXY, first of all, we have the 2-week time frame here. This is what we've discussed in previous videos. And you can see if I zoom in here, that we've got the market coming off of this confluence of support down here around 97.7. This level, guys, goes all the way back to 2011, so it is very significant here for the DXY. You can see we've got channel resistance up here off of these highs. All right, so a lot to consider here for the DXY and a potential turning point for this market in 2025. So this could be very significant for the US dollar and those trends that we've seen develop here over the past few months. So looking at the daily time frame, if I go back here to the linear chart, you can see where the market right now is sitting at a critical trend line off of that February high that we've talked about. So this is the high back here. You can see several highs off of this level. And so far, the DXY is struggling right here at this level. No coincidence there, no surprise there, considering how significant this level has been all year. Now, this area down here, guys, this is going to be the confluence of support for the DXY. And this doesn't mean that we won't see another retest of this area because, again, right now, the DXY is struggling right there at that key resistance. So a couple of things that I want to talk about here. First of all, guys, if the DXY does bottom here, and this is still a big if because we haven't seen a confirmed breakout in the high timeframes yet, but if we do get a bottom here, it's important to keep things in perspective. And what I mean by that is a lot of times people will see a market coming off of a significant support like this and think that it's just going to take off higher. And what tends to happen here at turning points is you get the market spending a lot of time going sideways. Look at the high back here or the top back here, how long the DXY took to finally reverse and really pick up momentum. And so we could see the market just continue sideways here for weeks, especially considering that it is the summer months, which we tend to get a lot of sideways action during the summer months. And furthermore, guys, if you go back here to this low, going back here to the log chart to get this level correct, you can see how even though you look at this in hindsight and you think, okay, if I had just bought the US dollar back here, I would have been sitting pretty for months. It's not that easy because if you look at the price action back here during this low, okay, this very significant low, this is the daily chart. And you can see how long the DXY just went sideways here, right? It even came back and tested these lows all the way back here before finally taking off. So the point here with this, guys, is that it is the summer months. We are seeing the market potentially bottom out here. But even if we get this, it's important to keep it in perspective and not go looking for, some massive move over, the course of a few days or even a few weeks, okay? Because my bet is that even if this does bottom out, we could spend some time here either between this high up here, this one, and this low down here, and just kind of going sideways here for a while before we finally get that move higher. Now, if obviously the DXY does not break out here, and we do get the sustained break below areas like 97.7, so breaking down below here, okay, over the coming weeks, then of course that would negate this bullish idea that we could see the DXY head back here toward levels like 100.2 or higher. All right, so a lot of indecision right now for this market. One thing for next week, guys, that you have to pay attention to is if we look at the hourly time frame. Now, you can see where the market's just kind of chopping around this level, but that's not what I want to focus on here. What I want to focus on is the TPO on the hourly chart. So coming in here, daily period, block size 30 minutes. What this shows, guys, I've removed all of the blocks in this just to show the single prints. Okay, what I want to focus on here are these red areas because what these show are essentially imbalances in the market here on the hourly time frame. So you can see we had an imbalance that was created back here during the sell-off. You can see the DXY came up here and took that out, right through here. Now back here, same thing, right? Imbalance created on the move up. Look what was tested back here before the DXY rallied again. You can see here today, look at the buy side imbalance that developed during the sell-off here. Look what was just filled in, okay? Now, what you'll notice is that we do have an unfilled sell side single print down here around 98.30. Okay, so this is an imbalance here for the DXY to where this could come into play next week. So what I would love to see for next week, if we are going to get the DXY bottoming out, is I would love to see, regardless of what happens here short term, I would like to see something like this, whether it happens from here or higher up. I would like to see the DXY come down here, clear this out next week, early next week, and then potentially from there, we get buyers stepping in and setting the market back here to the highs. Okay, so that's what I would like to see. Obviously, it doesn't mean it will happen. There are no guarantees. But looking at this sell side imbalance down here around 98.30, I would like to see this pocket down here filled in, okay, between these lows down here and these highs, I would like to see this filled in sometime next week before we get the DXY potentially bottoming. Okay, and just keep in mind too that there is no guarantee that the market does bounce here. Even if we see a retest here, it could bounce temporarily and then head lower. So just keep that in mind, guys. No guarantees. But ultimately, I would like to see this area down here filled in for the DXY. All right, so definitely sitting at a turning point right now, or a potentially significant turning point for the DXY when you just look at the, again, the 2-week time frame moving out here toward that 97.7 level. And again, there's no guarantee that we do get the bounce from here, and there is still more work for buyers to do to really confirm that. But you can see the potential here for the DXY given where it is trading. And as I said before too, guys, what this is going to come down to is the daily time frame breaking out from this trend line. Okay, so far we have not seen any confirmation of that. You can see where the market is holding below resistance. We have support coming in around 98.30. All right, so I know I'm moving through this quickly, guys, but we have a lot to cover. That's why I'm moving so quickly. So let's move on to the EURUSD. And if you guys are enjoying this content, be sure to smash the like button and also subscribe to the channel for daily Forex videos. So the EURUSD is kind of caught in a stalemate here between 114.40 and 115.30. And the other consideration here for the euro is the fact that the market is still holding above this trend line. So we've talked about this in previous videos, but you can see where so far the euro has not changed this, right? It's holding above this trend line, still carving those higher highs and higher lows. So even though we could get the market topping out here, in fact, if I had to guess, guys, I mean, I would say looking at the DXY where it's trading, looking at the euro, looking at the pound, I do think these markets are getting close to a top. They are starting to look a little exhausted here, but at the same time, I have to respect the chart. And so far, we do have the chart closing several days below 115.30. So this was our key level back here. And this level actually goes back several years. You can see where we got the close above here on the daily, held up as support through here. Then we got the close below on Tuesday. And since that time, this has become resistance. Now, I do have a short position on here that is essentially a break even today. So we'll see what we get going into the weekly close. So what's going to be key for the euro for me to add to that short position would be a sustained break below this trend line in areas like 114.40 that I talked about recently. And you can see where 114.40 here on this candle on Thursday, this was the exact low of Thursday's candle. Okay, so again, no surprise there that the market did find support there at 114.40. All right, so again, we'll see where this market goes here over the coming hours into the weekly close and during next week. But really, as I said, I think that this market is kind of at a potentially significant turning point, but we need that high time frame confirmation, specifically the market breaking below this trend line. And until that time, you do have, technically an uptrend that we have to respect. Okay, but I do have a short position on here. It is a starter position. I will look to add next week if we get follow through, and especially if the market does hold below 115.30 today. Now, a couple of considerations here, guys. One is if you look at the weekly chart, and this is where it gets a little bit challenging to trade the market right now because this is our key level that goes back years. And we've talked about this before, but you can see that we had these lows back here at 115.30, right? So this is why I have the level drawn right here. And the tricky part now for the euro is if you look here at the weekly, the market right now is trying to hold on to the weekly close we got last week. Okay, 2 weeks ago. So we had the weekly close above, and you can see where right now the market is trying to hold above this level going into the weekly close. So the question now is, do we get the weekly close above or back below to confirm that failed breakout, right? And the other consideration too, and we talked about this in VIP, which if you want to join us, be sure to check out the link in the description of this video for 85% off lifetime access. So looking at TPO, guys, let's bring this up here and let's make sure we are in daily and 30-minute here. All right, so let's take a look at this. I'm gonna switch all this off, guys, to make it easier to see. So looking at just the single prints, right? And again, we talked about this in the VIP group, but what you'll notice here is that we had a single print created during this rally back here. Notice the red line through here. You can see exactly what was tagged down here before we got the euro rallying. Look what was tagged here today. Okay, single print on this sell-off. And what I told VIP members back here when the euro was breaking out from a trend line off these highs, from this point here, I said we could get that tag up here at the single print. And sure enough, we just got that a few hours ago. All right, so, right now we have the market very range bound, but it is respecting these imbalances really, really nicely right now. And so this is kind of where it comes down to where we get, or where we go from 115.30 going into that weekly close. Now, one consideration, guys, is that if you're talking about imbalances, I mean, you can see that right now we have the market range bound, targeting these imbalances here recently, but the next imbalance is going to be down here around 113, right, during this rally through here. So this brings us to an important consideration here for the euro, is that if we do get the market kind of stalling out here and looking fatigued, then you do have pockets like this down here around 113 that could become targets. But in order for that to become a target, and I talk about this all the time, guys, is you need to have a, quote unquote magnet, right? Like one of those imbalances, but then you also have to have that high time frame trigger. And so for that, I think what you need to have here is the euro breaking below this trend line. Okay, so until that time, you do have to respect the uptrend. Like I said, I do think that the US dollar is getting close to a bottom, but we aren't quite there yet. So looking at the pound, moving on here, let's go to the daily time frame. And we talked about this recently, but I'm not going to show the RSI today, but we did see bearish divergence developing on the RSI here recently on these highs, very similar to what we had back here in 2024. So, the price action so far, as I've discussed in previous videos, guys, the price action right now looks very similar to what we had in 2024. It doesn't mean that it will play out the exact same way, but the top that formed over here is looking very similar to what we're getting right now from the pound. So this is one more reason why, I think we could see the US dollar finally put in a bottom. But at the same time, though, you look at this here and you look at Thursday's rally from the pound, and it kept the market above these range lows. Okay, so as of right now, we just have a range bound market here for the pound. I think that, in my opinion, if we are going to get a US dollar bottom and the pound is going to top out, what we need to see happen next week is areas like this up here around 135.35 hold up as resistance. And the reason for that is because you had this breakdown on Tuesday of this rising wedge. Okay, so you had the breakdown from the rising wedge here, this trend line breakdown on Tuesday. You've got this imbalance up here at 135.35. So this is also going to be a key resistance. And if we take a look here at the hourly TPO once again, so let's bring this up. You can see that based on that Tuesday decline here, the sell-off back here, you can see that there is an imbalance up here right around 135.35 or 135.40, thereabouts. So this is something where we could see this tagged next week. And this is why I'm a little bit hesitant about even things like the euro where we close this week, because we could get these markets moving a little bit higher starting next week and then potentially get the sell-off from here. Just because we do know that that is a significant imbalance back here at these lows during this sell-off. Okay, so I personally would love to see the pound come up here and take out this area before looking for shorts. Okay, so if we get next week the market holding above these range lows down here and coming up here into 135.35 or thereabouts, I would love to start looking for shorts up here in this area for that rotation lower. But at the same time, though, we obviously need to see the DXY into 98.30 and then a significant bounce from there as well. So there's a lot that goes into this. It's not just a matter of, selling up here and hoping for the best. You have to have a plan of attack and also use multiple markets or multiple charts to really confirm things or negate things. So that's what I'm looking for here from the pound, guys. Not a whole lot of change over the past week. I mean, we still have a range bound market, but I am looking at 135.35 resistance next week for that potential selling opportunity. Now, looking at the dollar yen, if we go here to the daily time frame, this is what we talked about recently, guys. This is so far playing out really nicely. So what we've discussed in recent videos is the idea that this right here, okay, could break out. And the reason for that has really nothing to do with the dollar yen chart and everything to do with the yen basket. So JPY basket, not a chart that a lot of people know about, but it is something that can be incredibly helpful if you're trading the yen, especially right now, because this trend line right here off of that 2020 high, what I've said recently is the way the market was trading here on the weekly, you can see where it started to carve these lower highs into this level and it was unable to get off of this. So a lot of times when you see this, this is indicative of a coming failed breakout. So this right here, if this fails, if the market closes a week below here, then this could introduce significant weakness for the yen going forward. And I'm not just talking about days, but potentially weeks or even months back here toward lows like this. So if we know that, okay, that this could introduce weakness for the yen, and we've got the dollar yen starting to break out from this 145.40 area, okay, then we could have a high probability setup on our hands. However, the key for this setup is going to come down to things like the DXY, right? Even though the dollar yen isn't a majority of the DXY, it still is a factor. So what I need to see here is the DXY test 98.30 next week, ideally, and then get a nice strong bounce from there. If we get that, and that equals a dollar yen pullback into areas like 145.40, okay, so a pullback into this pocket down here, and we get a nice strong bounce from there. Meanwhile, the yen basket closes this week below this trend line. Okay, that right there, guys, those three factors could offer a nice long opportunity here on the dollar yen, all right? And there's no shortage of areas to target here for this market. We have some really nice clean buy side levels here to target over the coming weeks and months if we do get it, okay? So there's still work to be done here. We'll see where this market closes, today and going into next week. But I do like the idea of a rally here only because, too, you have imbalances like this back here, like candles like this, that you could use as magnets here for this market. Even this back here, guys, all of these candles right here are magnets or potential magnets for this market if we do get that close above areas like 145.40, okay? So we'll see where this goes, but it is shaping up nicely, and this is what we've talked about for weeks. This is all part of planning the trade, guys. We've talked about this now for like 3 weeks, and it hasn't set up just yet. However, again, with the yen basket starting to break down here with a few hours to go, it does look like we could get that setup materializing next week for that dollar yen long, all right? So looking at gold, XAUUSD, tricky market right now, guys, for a few reasons. One, because we have the market, first of all, hitting this support level down here to this trend line. And the other one being that it failed at these highs. So this is what I talked about last week, where this was resistance here. And if we saw a close below this high from back here, we could see weakness develop here for gold, which we have seen so far this week. Okay, so the other reason it's tricky is because you have things like the DXY starting to show some strength, right? Coming into that confluence of support down here, we know that gold tends to move inversely to the US dollar. So we know that if the DXY starts to bottom here and show strength, then that could negatively impact gold. So if that's the case and you have the market here, really struggling at these highs, you certainly don't want to be a buyer into these highs. But at the same time, do you really want to be shorting gold, right? Knowing that it is doing this over the course of years, right? And if we get a breakdown of this trend line here next week, it could be something maybe short-term into areas like this down here. I think that there is a little bit of an imbalance down here in this region around 32.60. So if we were to get a break of this trend line, it could be something short-term down here to sweep this low. And then from there, we get the bounce and just some ranging here from gold. But again, you've got to be careful with shorts for obvious reasons. I mean, this has just been a very bullish market for months now, even years. So again, it's like you really want to short the market, but at the same time, you really don't want to be buying into these highs either. So I think this is kind of a nice time to just do nothing through here, guys. I think if you were shorting on this right here, right, the close below and the retest through here, that could have been something short-term last week. But I think for now, as long as the market is just doing this through here, I really don't see a lot to do. If we get the breakdown, like I said, that could be a range trade here toward these lows. And at the same time, if we get the market, breaking out from here, clearing this level, sustained break back above here, then we could get that target up toward 3,500. All right, guys. So that's it. I'm not really a huge fan of gold right now, or really ever. I don't trade gold too often, but right now with the market going sideways, I don't see a whole lot to do here. I think other markets like the DXY, the euro, and even the pound are a lot more attractive, especially when you consider where the DXY is sitting in relation to that channel support. All right, so I think that this is going to be the big story, guys, for the next few weeks here for the Forex market. And the same thing goes for the euro, that 115.30 level, and also this trend line here from March. And then as far as the pound, guys, like I said, I do think we could have a potential top in play, but we do need that high time frame confirmation. But before that, I am going to be watching 135.35 next week to see if sellers do step in there to defend that level. All right, guys, I hope this video has helped. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, and don't forget to join us at VIP, claim your 85% off lifetime access. See the link in the description below. Have a great weekend, and I will talk to you again next week.